seems like every time the employment minister finds rock bottom, it keeps getting worse. First, he said he wasn't the Randy involved in his company, but we know there was only one Randy at his company. He said he wasn't involved with his company while in cabinet, and text messages reveal that he is. He said that he was Indigenous to profit from government contracts stealing from First Nations communities, and now there's new news of coordinating business activities with drug smugglers and convicts. This is the behavior of a low-life fraud, not a federal cabinet minister. Simple question. How does that guy still have his job?
Order. Order. The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, despite the innuendo, here are the facts. I don't know the person in question. I never met that person in question. And Mr. Speaker, those are simply the facts. The article even says that I've never met the person in question. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Thornhill.
Speaker, here are the facts. He flaunts the ethics rules. He claims a false identity. He gets caught in a web of lies. That's what the Prime Minister rewards after 9 years. With each passing day, we find out more about the Employment Minister's scams and schemes, and we learn that he's just a phony and a fraud. Canadians want to know. Indigenous communities who stole from him, who he stole from, want to know. And Liberal backbenchers want to know when the Prime Minister is going to fire that Cabinet Minister.
The Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know the person in the article from today. I've never met the person in the article from today. Those are the facts. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives may not like it, but it's actually in the article that I don't know the person in question. Never met them.
The Honourable Member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
The Liberal minister from Alberta is a fake and a fraud. He said he was not the Randy involved in his company, but we know that there's only one Randy. He said he wasn't involved in his company at the cabinet table.
I'm going to ask colleagues. Today we've been skating close to the line in terms. Excuse me, colleagues. I will start my comment again if you would give me the privilege of listening. At several occasions today, we've been skating close to the line in terms of what's acceptable language. The Honourable Member from Leeds Grenville, I think, has skated over that line and accusing a direct member. Can I ask the Honourable Member to withdraw that comment and start his question from the top, please?
Restart, Speaker, that this Liberal minister from Alberta has been implicated in fraud and media reports. Today, we've seen that. It's very clear.
I'm just going to. I'm not certain if I was having trouble hearing the member. I don't think I heard the withdraw. If he could withdraw and start again, I'd appreciate it. If members were not to take the floor while a member is being recognized, the Speaker will be able to hear the member. The Honourable Member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Withdrawing the previous words, Speaker, we'll talk about this Liberal minister from Alberta who has been implicated in media reports in fraud. Some of them he's even apologized for. He misrepresented his identity, claiming to be Indigenous, trying to steal contracts from people who are in fact Indigenous. This same minister said that he wasn't the Randy at his own company. We know that there was only one Randy at that company. It's pandemic profiteering. We know that there's allegations of fraud. Why is it that this Prime Minister just won't fire that minister?
The Honourable Member, the Honourable Minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite just said is simply not true.
The Honourable Member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
It's unbelievable that with the cocaine connections to the Liberal minister from Alberta, that those Liberals, that Prime Minister, want to allow him to continue to be in cabinet. He said that he was Indigenous to try and steal contracts from individuals who are Indigenous. That's okay as long as you are a Liberal. The company is involved in more than half a dozen lawsuits because of fraud, and that's okay as long as you're a Liberal. They came before committee and said things that we now know weren't true, like it must have been some other Randy. If he won't resign, why won't this Prime Minister fire that fraudster?
Again, members at the very last possible moment used a word which would not be considered acceptable. Can I just ask the honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island and Rideau Lakes to please withdraw that last word?
I'll withdraw the last word. He should be fired.
I thank the honourable member. The honourable minister for Employment and Workforce Development.
Mr. Speaker, what the member opposite said, once again, is not true.
The honourable member for Mégantic-Les-Sables. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Official Languages campaigned as a successful entrepreneur, but he's an imposter. We know that he said he wasn't involved in his company when he was a minister, but the text messages show the opposite. He was taking money destined for First Nations communities. He said he was a journalist even though he was a lobbyist. When will the Prime Minister fire this professional fake?
The
Honourable Minister of Employment and Workforce Development. Mr. Speaker, despite the insinuations, I have never met that person in question in today's article. I have never dealt with her. I've never met her. Those are the facts.
The
honourable member from Mégantic-Les-Sables. Mr. Speaker, there are so many Randys that they didn't even understand the question I asked him. But the Minister of Official Languages presented himself as a successful entrepreneur and journalist, but he said he worked for Radio-Canada and Les Affaires, and even the editor-in-chief of Les Affaires said it was obvious he wasn't a journalist. He was uncovered, even though the Prime Minister made many efforts to protect him. When will the Prime Minister fire his fake minister? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the statements of that member are false.
À l'ordre, s'il vous plaît.
Order.